Well, good morning. It's 8 o'clock. We will try to get started. Got several bills on the agenda for this morning. I'm going to ask Representative Kennard if he'll open prayer this morning.
Let's pray. God, we open two gifts this morning, our eyes, and we're thankful for new blessings, new mercy, a new day, a new opportunity to express your glory. Let us tap into a wisdom that's greater than ours in this committee meeting, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.
We do have a sign-up sheet over here on the table on the right. Anybody that would wish to speak on a bill, please sign that. We'll be collecting that here in just a couple minutes. We will jump right into our bills this morning. We're going to do House Bill 870. Representative Matt Barton, if you'll come to the podium and present your bill. Yes. Will you read the LC number on your bill as well?
I was going to. Thank you, though. Morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm bringing to you House Bill 870 today. The LC number is 3925554S. That's a substitute. This bill is essentially just a consumer safety bill. The state of Georgia already says the tires that are on this bill are deemed illegal to drive on. This bill's main purpose is to stop the professionals from installing these tires onto someone else's vehicle. The right now it's 230 seconds. 230 seconds is an illegal tire, which is if you had a penny to about Lincoln's head. That's about how much depth we're talking about. 430 seconds for a commercial vehicle. This bill does not prevent the person who has a car from getting this tire fixed. It only prevents, for example, Brian, if he came in after I got rid of my tires, they wouldn't be able to install this tire to your car. That's the main purpose of this bill, to put it on someone else's vehicle that is dangerous. It also doesn't affect farm vehicles from using these tires on a farm. And I've talked to 3 tire stores in my area and in 2 different cities, and they all think it's a great bill. They said they personally wouldn't put these tires on another vehicle anyway. So there's also some industries that are backing this: the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association, the Auto Care Association, the Tire Industry Association, Motor and Equipment Manufacturers Association, Automotive Aftermarket Association, Southeast, AAA, and the American Property Casualty Insurance Association. And I'll take any questions.
All right, we do have a couple questions, but more talk. We've got number 15, Representative Kennard.
Yes, thank you. I'm not really a car guy. Why would someone use this kind of tire? What's the application for it?
I don't know why someone would use this type of tire on a personal vehicle. It's not an anti-used tire bill. Sometimes you get a opportunity where you might need a used tire. So say, for example, you're about to get some new tires in about 6 months or a year, and then you blow out one tire. You don't want to buy 4 new tires at one time, so you can just buy a used tire. So I don't know why someone would want to use a dangerous tire, because they're already dangerous.
Okay.
Number 3, Representative Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Barton, for bringing this bill. My question is, you mentioned that farmers could, something about farmers reusing or whatever.
Oh, out in the pastures.
Okay.
It wouldn't matter.
So, but it wouldn't matter to them or to a individual. If I change one tire that's not good and put it on my daughter's, if I put it on my daughter's car or another car, I'm okay. I mean, this bill doesn't bother that. It only deals with authorized, for lack of better words, users or dealers or garage stores that are authorized to do that for a profession. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, it's actually, I'm pretty, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, I mean, to change a tire, you got to have special equipment to be able to do it anyway, because you can't just do it on your own.
I'd rather change a tire.
No. That's changing.
Maybe I'm missing something.
When you put a tire on you put it on a wheel, you got to change the rim.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're talking about.
So I couldn't do that personally, is what this bill is saying.
I would be surprised if you have the equipment, but if you have the equipment, you could probably do it yourself anyway. But this prevents you from putting it you wouldn't put this tire on your daughter's car. I mean,
No,
but
I wouldn't, but
right. But for example, if you went to the tire store and you had a bad tire like this,
tire store you couldn't do it.
well, they could take it off and fix it if you got a flat, and you wanted to keep on driving on it. So it wouldn't prevent you from still driving on it. But they could fix a tire like that, but they couldn't. Once they take it off in your car, they couldn't put it on another car. They could still put it back on your car.
Okay. But as a personal, I mean, as a individual, I could do that, just like the farmer could.
I don't think nothing in your bill prohibits him
Yeah.
from
No.
doing that.
No.
It's stopping somebody from taking it off your car and selling it to somebody
Right.
else. Is what
Right.
we're
Okay,
doing.
just wanted to make, cool. Thank you.
Number 17, Representative McLean. I'm trying.
All right, there way to go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to my seatmate too. I guess I have a couple of questions because I think on line 49, it says has a repair puncture damage larger than 1/4 of an inch. I just want to know how you are. I mean, do we have a tool or something that's going to measure that 1/4 of an inch? I'm just.
The tire store would.
Oh, the tire store they've got a tool already that.
Yeah, the tire store. This is what's already in the law right now. What describes a bad tire. But the tire store would know that this puncture was bigger than 1/4 inch.
Okay, I'm just I didn't know
Yeah.
Usually if it's something in the bill, it's not underlined. But thank you very much for that. And can I follow, Mr. Chairman? And I think the only other question I have: who will monitor this to make sure that this happens? I mean, is this a cost to anybody or cost to?
It's just the tire manufacturers just want to get. It's a consumer safety bill to get them to not have dangerous tires on the road that don't need to be out there anyway.
Okay, maybe I didn't make myself plain. I got scrupulous, shops.
Yeah.
So who's monitoring this? Who's regulating, the tires? I mean, someone's gonna go by and.
There's not going to be a group that's going around checking everybody's tires. I mean, it's just
Okay.
there's not a new force to go out there and look for this.
And I think we've got someone coming up later that can answer that question for us, Representative
Thank you,
McLean.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Number 8, Representative Purple.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In reference to Representative Kennard's question, why would you install such tire on your vehicle? Representative Barton and I, we've had this conversation before. My dad drives a 1989 Ford Ranger, 15-inch tires. Those are hard as the dickens to come by. You don't really find those, an abundant supply of those. And if he's going to town and he has a blowout, and it takes a day or two in order to get the tires in to put a new tire on it. If he just has a tire to stick on that in order to get back to the house so he could get it, that would be one reason why you would put such a tire on, as a temporary fix. My question or my concern is line 46, where it says, no person shall install a tire upon a passenger vehicle. That would seem to indicate not just the tire professional, but my 74-year-old daddy from installing a tire with a less than, 2/32 is, a 16th, less than a 16th, even on the if it's uneven wear on the inside tread of the tire. I do have a concern about that.
I understand. I mean, and if that tire's already hard to find, I mean, it's going to be hard to find it in a used tire lot too.
And that's right. So the universe of used tire supplies is going to be very limited. If we further limit those, then it could
I
prove
understand. I understand your
problematic.
concern, but I mean, we had the conversation too. But your dad puts on that tire and then he drives down the road and hits a wet spot and takes out a family or he gets killed or something like that too. That's why. So that's why I'm in favor of it.
Okay, thank you.
Number 7, Chairman Ball.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, sir. Good add to our body here, and I appreciate your good work. I do have a couple of follow-ups on the concern area. So I'm going to take it the other way, right? Perhaps the dealer who looks at this 1/4 inch, which is fairly small. You can multiple ways, and patches have evolved over the years to handle something like this fairly easily. To say, sorry, you can't put a patch on it. You got to buy, a $300 new tire when, in reality, a $10 patch would work. So I as well just have some concerns with that portion, as well as the example that was used, no person shall install. Some of us do have equipment to do this. I own a construction company, and we do some of our own tires. So just in general, I have some concerns, but I appreciate your heart in bringing this for safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9, Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry I'm tardy today. I had to deal with a lot of motor vehicles out there on 75, but I got here. So. I realize your intention here is for safety, but my objection, I guess, to this piece of legislation is, for me, we're taking off a lot of tires off the market, and I can assume, obviously the new tire dealers, they would rather have a little more market share there. But when we're talking about safety, I would rather somebody go and purchase a set of used tires that maybe had a little bit of tread wear on the side where the tires weren't maybe aligned on the previous vehicle, instead of using their same worn out tires because they can't afford a set of new tires. So for the purposes of safety, I don't think we are here as a committee to judge whether a tire is safe or not. I think the consumer can make that decision based off what kind of tires they currently have on their vehicle and what kind of tires they could afford or would like to have on their vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you go back to the 2/32 of an inch and 4/32 of an inch, any commercial vehicle, if you get pulled over on the side of the road, that PSC, he stops you, that's the same standards they hold you to. If it's less than that, they write you up for having a defective tire. I mean, that's out there in code now. When these guys pull you over, pull our trucks over on the side of the road, if it's less than 2/32 on the back and 4/32 on the front, it's an illegal tire.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I don't disagree with you one bit, and that's written into the code section, and I think we can all agree there. Looking at line 50, it talks about tread and shoulder wear. So I think back to when I was in high school. I had a 3500 GMC pickup truck with 35-inch tires, and I couldn't afford a new set of those tires. But there were a couple folks in town that did have some other. Yeah, they were 35s. They were big tires. But their tires would kind of wear in the center, right? Well, I would buy their used tires and I would rotate them so I could get some more tread wear. And, that saved me as a high school student. Instead of buying a $300 set of tires, I could pick those up for about $75. And those tires took me off to college. I felt safe with them. So line 50, I think for me to have that line would have to go pretty quick, in my opinion. I mean, when you look at even the seal of a tire, right? If somebody goes and they purchase a brand new set of tires, and as they're rolling off that parking lot, they run across a tack, right? And they go back in that tire shop and they put some sealant in that tire. According to this legislation, to my understanding, they wouldn't be able to resell that tire any longer.
Once it's repaired.
Right, once it's repaired.
Until it's repaired.
Right.
No, it says until it's repaired.
All right, we got several other bills to get through. Let's
Right.
move on. Number 3, again, we're going to wrap this up.
Mr. Chairman, at the proper time, I'd like to make a motion.
All right, I think we have some people signed up to speak on this bill. Got Sean Moore with U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association. You possibly can speak to some of the issues that were brought up. Come to the podium and tell us your name and who you're with.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Sean Moore. I'm here with the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association, or USTMA, and we support House Bill 870. USTMA is the national trade association that represents the 13 major companies manufacturing tires here in the United States. 7 of our member companies actually operate manufacturing facilities here in the state of Georgia. It's Bridgestone, Continental, Goodyear, Kumho, Michelin, Pirelli, and Toyo, all manufacturing here in Georgia. Kumho's U.S. headquarters is actually located here in Atlanta as well. Tire manufacturing directly supports nearly 12,000 jobs here in the state of Georgia. Our industry has an impact of more than $2.7 billion on the state's economy. We generate $383 million in state and local tax revenue, and safety is our industry's top priority. We commend Representative Barton for his leadership on this issue. We strongly support his efforts to make Georgia roadways safer for all motorists. Tires are one of the most highly engineered safety components on a vehicle. They're involved in all aspects of a vehicle's movement. New tires sold in the United States are required to meet the most stringent safety standards in the world. There are comparatively few regulations governing the sale of used tires, which is what this bill is intended to do. So we view this bill as a simple, common sense measure that prohibits the installation of worn out, damaged, or improperly repaired tires. It's already mentioned that Georgia law already prohibits driving on the types of tires that this bill targets. If you or I were pulled over, we could be cited for having tires in this type of condition. Yet there's nothing that prohibits a tire business from installing these types of tires on unsuspecting customers' car. I understand there are some questions about whether or not an at-home mechanic could do this for his own vehicle. The intent of the vehicle, or the intent of the bill, is to address practices at tire shops, professional tire shops. And that's because consumers trust tire professionals to help them select and install tires that are safe and appropriate for the vehicles that they want to install them on. They expect the tires that they purchase are going to be capable of safely transporting them and their families. The criteria outlined in House Bill 870 are well established. They're easily recognized by any tire professional. Codifying these criteria in statute will help level the playing field for reputable tire businesses that shouldn't have to compete with the types of businesses that would install these types of tires on unsuspecting customers' car. And I think that goes to the question before about why would someone support this measure. It's about the reputation of the tire industry. It's about giving consumers confidence in the tires that they're purchasing and having installed on their vehicles. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says that worn out tires are 3 times more likely to be involved in a crash than tires with sufficient tread depth. So the intent of HB 70 or 870 is to establish some very basic guidelines for used tires that will help reduce the risk of tire failure in motor vehicle crashes here in the state of Georgia, while imposing minimal burdens on the businesses installing tires. I do want to address the question about the used tire market. There are actually 30 million tires that enter the secondary market in any given year. 30 million tires. This bill addresses very small fraction, the worst of the worst. These are tires that belong to a tire recycler, not in a reputable tire shop for an unsuspecting consumer to come in and purchase. So 4 other states have enacted similar laws. We respectfully urge the committee's support for House Bill 870. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I do not, well, number 17.
Thank you for bringing. Thank you too, Mr. Chairman. I guess my only question is, I know you're with the new tires.
Correct.
Where are the used tires? I mean, where are those shops? Or where are they on this bill?
Sure. So as Representative Barton mentioned, this is supported by the Tire Industry Association. They represent more than 13,000 companies across the country, including 489 companies here in the state of Georgia that are involved in tire sales, tire repair, and tire recycling as well.
So
they're supportive of this bill.
So
as well.
the used tire, so used tire shops are in support of this bill as well.
Yes, and I believe Representative Barton mentioned he talked to a few in his district. Reputable tire businesses, if you talk to them, they're not going to be installing these types of tires on your car. The tires we're talking about typically go for maybe $5 or $10 a pop. They're not obtained through the legitimate secondary tire market. most often, at least by a tire business that's going to sell them. They're usually pulled out of a dumpster. They're maybe stolen off a lot where they were intended to be shipped to a tire recycler and shredded for use in another market.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to do one more, and then we're going to call the question. Number 9.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. So how do you define a reputable tire dealer?
I think if you talk to most tire businesses, they're going to be purchasing their tires through a legitimate secondary market. They're not going to be stealing them off of.
So what is a legitimate secondary market?
So there's a tire recycling business. There are scrappers, auto recyclers. They're the ones that are taking these tires off of vehicles. If a vehicle comes into their lot and it's been wrecked, they're pulling stuff off and seeing what's salvageable, what's clearly damaged and needs to go to a tire recycler. A tire recycler is taking that and they're generally shredding it up. It might be used as crumb rubber infill on a synthetic turf field. It might be ground up and used as crumb rubber for rubber modified asphalt or molded and extruded product. Tire shreds might be used as tire derived aggregate for any number of engineering purposes. They're the ones making the decisions about what's safe to use on a vehicle in the secondary market.
So Mr. Moore, how would you define a tire dealership, say in a small community that sells new tires but takes off the old used tires and then resells them to another customer?
That's a legitimate business.
Okay.
They're obtaining those tires through a legitimate means, in
All
my
right.
opinion. They're not stolen tires.
And do you think any of those tires might have some inner liner damage or some bead damage in the process of taking those on or off?
It's possible, and I would hope that they would not then install them on an unsuspecting customer's car.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, that's all the questions we have. I do want to make one comment though. It's been mentioned about, like Clay mentioned about his dad going to get a tire. I'm not as much concerned with that issue as my wife or my daughter going to get a tire and then somebody selling her something that's unsafe. They go to get the oil changed and they want to flush air in the tire and the fuel system and everything else. They don't do that. Just change the oil and come home, kind of deal. So I'm concerned about that, and I think this bill kind of adds a measure to that where stop them from being able to do that to my wife or my daughter. So at this time, be for a motion. Number 3.
Recommend they do pass.
Do we have a second? Don't recognize you. Do we have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. 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 All opposed? Opposed. All right, let's have a hand count. All in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, all opposed? 7 to 6. That's what you got? I mean, the chairman had to cast a deciding vote. Motion passed. Thank you. All right, at this time we're going to go into House Bill 463. Representative Montahan. And this is a bill we passed out here last year, if I'm... you can.
Yeah, I prefer that.
Yes. And I meant to remind everybody before the meeting started, direct all questions to the chair and all remarks to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have LC 392157, House Bill 463. What House Bill 463 does is it changes some of the requirements on a 3-wheeled auto cycle. So we brought this bill last year, and it's, I'll go through the changes and try to follow with me because it is kind of confusing when you're not used to dealing with these things. Line 18 is seat belts in a frame to partially or fully enclose the operator. That is one important part of the mechanism to the change in this bill. The second is under line 37 It's seatbelts and a frame to partially or fully enclose the operator. And then under line 45, it's or a three-wheeled motor vehicle equipped with seatbelts and a frame to partially or fully enclose the operator. The change with these three-wheeled autocycles, and the reason these changes have to be made is because this has handlebars. So it's a type of vehicle. Y'all seen them like a Can-Am or something like that, where you're driving around and you got this enclosure. You've got a seat belt. You've got a gear shifter. You're fully enclosed and sitting in this thing. It may not have a top like a convertible, but you're fully enclosed. So it totally enshrouds you. What this bill aims to do is allow them not to wear a helmet and goggles. If you can imagine, it'd be kind of hard to sell them these things. You say, well, the difference between the ones you cannot wear one of these is a seatbelt in front. Is that you got to wear goggles on one and not on the other, and so that's the change we're aiming to make. And to their point, it's also more dangerous if you wear a safety belt, okay, and that's confining your torso to the seat, and then you put on a 6, 7, 8 pound helmet, and you were getting a motor vehicle accident. The momentum of that force would actually could do fatal damage to you. So it's just not a safe thing to do. It's better for it to be no helmet, but to have that lap belt restraint and be fully enclosed. We passed this bill out last year. It stayed in rules, and we hope to pass it out and get it through rules this year.
All right. Do we have any questions? Number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Barr.
Completely agree with this bill. Mr. Chair, I was wondering if on line 23, the author might describe the change there grammatically, why we did that.
I believe that change was made
Grammatical.
in legislative council. I'll be honest with you.
At the proper time, I'd like to make a motion.
All right. Seeing no other questions, now would be the time for a motion. Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Say aye. All right. You have your bill.
All right.
All right, this time, I'm going to come to the podium and do House Bill 900, which Representative Chairman Silcox will be carrying for here. I'm presenting it this morning because she had a meeting to go to, but let me come to the podium and let Chairman Rutledge take over. All right. Good morning, committee. I bring before you House Bill 900, LC 392500. And basically, all we're doing here is just allowing the change the specialty license plate for fight breast cancer. It's the old plate. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if you got one on your desk or not. You should have one in front of you, what the old plate looks like. They're wanting to change it to the pink ribbon, which is now, that's universally recognized as breast cancer. When you see that symbol, so it's more appealing, a better looking plate, and then we're just changing the date when they can begin purchasing these plates. Everything else pretty much stays the same. So if any questions, I will take them, Mr. Chairman. If not, I'd ask for everyone's favorable consideration.
We do have a couple of questions. Number 11 is
Proper time, I'd like to be recognized for a motion.
okay. Hold on, we just have who's number 17? Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second. So all in favor, say aye. All opposed. Motion
Thank
passes.
you. On the next bill, I need to, if we'll take a 5-minute recess, I need to ask Miss Leslie to go outside. We got to caucus a minute.
Okay.
All ready? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring before you House Bill 936, LC 345626. Basically, what we're doing with this bill is allowing the Department of Driver Services to issue electronic driver's license have them on your cell phone. I can see, just like my wife now, she goes to the store, she's got Apple Pay. She can do everything on her phone. Basically, that's what we're doing with this bill, is allowing them the ability to issue, if someone so chooses, to have that on their phone, electronic driver's license. And I know there's a lot of questions and everybody concerning safety with data breaches and that kind of stuff, and that's why Ms. Leslie's up here. And before we take questions, I would like for her to tell why we need the bill and what they've done, the measures that other states have done. So, and then we'll take questions after that, if that's all right with the committee.
That's good.
Good morning. Shavonda Leslie with Georgia Department of Driver Services. I serve as the Director of Governmental Affairs and Communications. As Chairman Corbett mentioned, we're trying to do electronic driver's license pilot. This would allow people to have their license on their telephone, not simply just take a picture of it, but kind of like your ticket when you fly out. You download the app and then you get your license. Your ticket, your flight ticket on your driver's license. It's ever evolving, and so as he stated, there are other states that are currently doing this now. So the practice would be that the person would have their license on their phone. They could either, it's ever evolving, this industry. So they could either, somewhat like an airdrop to the officer behind them. The officer can say, send me your license. I see that you have a mobile DL capability. They can kind of like an airdrop to that little reader, or the officer can come up to them as well and scan like a barcode, like a QR code on their phone, and it'll give them that information. Another good thing about the electronic driver's license is if you go to adult beverage store and you do need to prove your age, yet the person at the store does not need to know all your information as far as where you live. All they need to know is that you're able to purchase alcohol because you are of age. So they would not provide that information. You would simply push a button and it showed just that, okay, this person is authorized to purchase. This person is over 21. Another great thing about this driver's license, electronic driver's license ID card, is it's real time, and if the system happens to go offline, that person will still have the capability to access that license. Another feature is, sometimes if someone is driving on a suspended license, it would not show on your hard card that license is suspended. But if that card comes up if you have it on your mobile drive on your phone, it'll automatically push notification that license is suspended, and it'll come up as suspended. So those are a couple of features. Are there any questions?
I have one question. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
How about TSA and going through the airport? Was it?
Yes, there are states now that are currently using it, and we have talked to TSA about that, and they are excited about the possibility.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like for this to be a hearing only today.
Okay, hearing only. Okay.
Hearing only.
Any questions? Number 17 is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I only just have one question. So it's just only on my phone. I mean, when you said it's digital and, on my phone, so therefore it's not on, it can't be on somebody else's phone.
That is accurate.
So it's my phone number. And
it's attached to your phone number. When you come in, you'll give us your phone number. And again, it's ever evolving, so there'll be a pilot. You'll come in, and then we'll attach your information to that phone number.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can you talk about the security? Did you mention what's being done
for the safety and security? So the IT people probably be a little bit more expertise, but it's a lot more secure than having your hard card. I think you all know that we changed their card this last summer, I believe, and so it's a lot more secure than. Because it's hard to duplicate that electronic license because it's not an actual picture. It's basically somewhat like a 3D picture of your face, and so you take your page and your image is moving. So and again, this process is ever evolving, but the picture is definitely moving. I wish I could have a sample so you could see, but it moves around your head, so it will show like the different features, the biometrics of your face. And that's another thing. When you you can't get into your phone without some phones, your biometrics of your fingerprint or your facial recognition, that will be the same way to get into this license.
All right, thank you. Representative Prince.
And again, I think this is very innovative and I think it's futuristic. Question though, have we estimated about how much this would save us, the DDS? How much, I guess, because we print a lot of licenses and learner's permits, and will it, I mean,
definitely
any numbers like that?
So it would not be either. It would not be you can't have either or. Because some places you still need your hard card, right? Until we get everybody to get on board with getting their electronic license, so you would have both.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, number 12, Representative Munham.
Hey there, Miss Leslie. How you doing? Good
Good.
morning. I had a quick question for you, and that is, are the biometrics that, when we talk about taking that biometric 3D scan, are they going to be stored in such a way that it's accessible? I think there's a fear right now that you see some countries that are using biometric data and then they couple it with a camera system to kind of scan through crowds and all that kind of stuff. How is the end data going to be used? Will it be given to law enforcement? Anything? I mean, what I think there may need to be some disclosure to what happens with the data, and that's my first question. Second question I had is, so people cannot take a screenshot of their ID
No.
and keep it. And I think the third question I had was, is this going to be available through some type of app, like a DDS app or something like that, or is it a program, or is it a website? Because I think those are different. If it's like I use Regions Bank. I probably shouldn't say that in public, but I go on there and it uses a fingerprint scanner for me to log in, so I don't have to type in everything, and it's very convenient. But that's I would assume has a bank level of security.
Yeah.
So do y'all have an app that has kind of like that same kind of security?
So we do have an app, and so it's our general counsel who's kind of attended a couple of the meetings. She's here, Miss Angelique McClendon, and I'm gonna have her come up here to assist as well. So what it does is it's just like on your phone, and we would not maintain that data. Once, if you decide, okay, I no longer want this, we would not maintain that information. That is the biometrics that you use to enter your phone.
Okay. But the biometrics that are taken, I guess, at DDS for this 3D image that moves with the phone, where you can see all the features to make sure that person, how is that data going to be stored, and will it be utilized by law enforcement, sold, or anything like that to any other groups for the purposes of like facial recognition scanning in crowds or otherwise?
Won't be sold.
If you would just identify yourself, please.
I'm sorry, I'm Angelique McClendon, General Counsel. Thought I was coming to observe today, but it's okay. But it would not be sold. And it would, law enforcement would have the access to photos as they do now through GCIC. Right. So if there were any image on that EID or mobile driver's license app or whatever platform, I don't think we've narrowed down what platform. It would be similar to, I don't know how many people use Apple Pay or Samsung Pay. It'd be similar to something like that. But that would be an identifying piece.
Okay. And just the same data is being held now.
Yes, exactly. It's the same. We would be leveraging the same information we receive from customers now, and we would take the same, if not more, safeguards as we do now.
Okay.
I don't see any more questions. We do have one person signed up. Is Ms. Causey still here? Okay.
Good morning. My name is Maisie Lynn Causey. I represent the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. obviously a lot more information has come to light in this hearing this morning than was, able to be provided in the bare language of the code section changes. So I would defer some comment to our next convening about this bill so that we could talk with DDS more about some of the aspects of the app that we've heard about today and the implications of that with respect to the interests of my client. But just as a threshold matter, one of our concerns about this legislation as it stands would be the language in lines 52 through 55, which is repeated in lines 88 through 90. This language purports to prevent a non-consensual search of someone's phone. And I'm certain that because it's me standing here, you think that I'm trying to protect the nefarious information that our clients might have on their phones. And that's certainly, that's not the case. All of us, and it's been mentioned today, have a lot of very private information on our phones. Our banking information, like Representative Montan mentioned. You could have other things. I have information about my child's pickup schedule at her school on my phone because they use an app for that as well. So I just think when you're handing your phone over to an officer of the state, and I should also disclaim with this, I am not here also saying that every law enforcement officer is a bad apple. I'm the child of a 31-year veteran of a police force. I know that there are plenty of very reputable police officers serving our state, but we also know that there are some who are not very reputable, and I don't know what would happen to some of our information if it was in their hands. So we do have concern that the language disallowing a search is not sufficient to help ensure that wouldn't happen to any of us or to any of our children who might be on the roads with their phones using an electronic driver's license. So I will leave it at that for today, and would hope that when you do reconvene, you would be willing to hear from us again on some of the larger issues related to the app.
Okay.
But I would stand for questions if you have them about this.
Does anyone have any questions? Well,
Yes.
Let me go. Who's number 11? Chairman Powell.
I just want to ask you a question.
Sure.
If you're pulled over and you're still sitting in the car and you show your phone to the officer, would you then be guilty of distracted driving for holding a cell phone?
I like the way you think, Chairman Powell. I like the way you think.
You get a fine for
Well,
that.
certainly there's room for it as you're being pulled over and you're shuffling for your phone. But I see your point.
Thank you, Chairman Barr.
Yes, ma'am. So I follow what you're saying and I absolutely agree, right? I don't want to be able to hand my phone over, and so that's why it's in the law 2 times. I'm just curious as to your point of what would make you feel more comfortable, this language. What language, that's my question. Yeah, what language would make you feel comfortable since we have it twice? And, when the Bible says something 2 times, you kind of pay attention. We put it here twice in the law, so.
It's here twice in the law because it has implications in 2 different code sections, and so you couldn't rely on the first iteration of that language in the second situation. That's why it's repeated twice. It's unfortunately not the same as when it's repeated in triplicate in Scripture, which is often the case. But honestly, I'm not certain that there is sufficient language to ensure that there couldn't be some bad actions taken with our data on phones.
Okay.
I don't know that you can legislate good behavior.
Right.
I appreciate the attempt. And certainly there would be something to rely on if you are down the road now in court, and you might have more grounds to suppress illegally obtained information. So I wouldn't want the search criteria to be taken out. I just don't think it's sufficient to give us all comfort that our information would be protected.
So is the concern that the police officer is going to take the phone and go back to his car?
Oh,
Is
I
that-
don't
so-
have a strong concern about that. No, sir. It's not about the keeping of the phone, but there's a lot you can just stand and look at in a phone without having to move away at all. The apps are all available. Once that phone is unlocked and in someone else's hand, it's everything in it's available to them.
But if I hold it in my hand and show it to the police officer, it stays in my hand.
Oh, well, that's a nice thought. We could add some language about who gets to control the phone. That's a different matter. I hadn't even thought about that. But because that is that is another matter. I'm going to tell you that my experience with representing folks is that they rarely get to hold their license in their hand and simply show it to an officer.
Well, that's not an electronic device. I wouldn't.
It's not an electronic device. I mean, I'm not going to speak for law enforcement, but whether or not they would want to actually be able to hold that phone is a matter for them. It would surprise me if officers would be willing for folks to simply show their phones. Without knowing how the app actually works,
Right.
I guess it's hard to know how you could distinguish that they're actually using the validated DDS app or some other
Right.
app that someone's developed.
I would think in today's technology, we'd have police officers with a phone that could scan that information and have everything that they would need.
It's possible. I mean, I certainly understood from the testimony that there's this airdrop feature, where the officer doesn't even have to get out of their patrol car, which, again, not my issue about whether or not we want officers remaining in their cars at traffic stops. That's someone else's argument for you.
Gotcha.
But yeah, there's just a lot of
questions?
layers here with what's been presented today.
Okay.
Just wanted to follow up on some of that. I think you're absolutely correct about it's not that the officers don't want to hold the phone either. So, of course, we've been in talks with law enforcement just to get different perspectives, but yet they don't want to hold that electronic device. Now, the license is a piece of plastic, and they don't want to hold that either. And then it's also optional. We don't envision having this. The electronic version of your license being the requirement. So you would still have your plastic license that if you don't feel comfortable showing the officer your phone, because that's all the interaction that you would have with the officer would not have to take that phone to get the driver's license information from that phone. It'd be like any other place where you scan your phone. And I mentioned Apple Pay, Samsung Pay. You're controlling your device. You're tapping that device to give that store that banking information.
Right.
Chick-fil-A even they don't want to hold your phone. They say turn it around.
Right.
They tell you what to do with it, and then they're scanning it from a device. So
I use that app a lot.
exactly, and that's what it would be. It
We have a
wouldn't
couple
be
other
that the
questions that we'd
officers
like to
would
get
be
to.
able to control the phone. But we'd be happy to talk and see what language would make it more comfortable for people who have concerns with that.
And we have a couple questions. Leader Trammell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wondered if there had been an estimate of the cost to implement and the cost of the cybersecurity protection that would be needed to protect license holders.
I don't think there is an exact estimate. As it stands now, the same people who already operate in the licensing space are the same companies that would assist with that implementation. So as far as the cost to the agency, we're looking at what we're weighing our costs to, additional costs for training and a different skill set of person, and as you said, increased security, cybersecurity wise, and IT professionals. But we don't have an exact estimate of the
Mr.
cost.
Chairman, if I could ask one additional question.
Go ahead.
Has there been any discussion with California and Louisiana about their hacks, the hack of the DMV in their states at the end of last year?
So, just to follow up on the last question, it would be a pilot also. So a lot of the cost estimates would come from the operation of that pilot. But as far as California and Louisiana, you mentioned, we are very active in our DMV community, our DMV organization, AMVA, American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators. So we frequently talk with a lot of states about cybersecurity and how to keep the information safe. California is one that we talk to, but not in particular. That's not a state that we're, modeling, for instance. But whenever something happens in the DMV community, we, of course, take notice and we look at what we're doing to see how we can change or if we can change anything and make it more efficient and safer.
Thank you. Representative Barton.
Yeah. Let me give you a scenario. I got two girls. They're over 21 now, but let's go back a few years ago, and the older one was 21 years old, and the other one's 19 years old. What's to stop her from borrowing her sister's phone? And Miss Leslie was talking about how they wouldn't have to see the driver's, the address and stuff like that. So does it show a picture still or what?
They would have, so the if you're I don't know if you're talking about a law enforcement situation that.
No, I'm talking about
Just-
buying alcohol.
Oh, buying alcohol. I got you. I'm sorry. I missed the whole 21 reference. Not to say that I've ever done anything like borrow a cousin or sister's ID, but it would be a picture associated with that.
Okay.
Yes. And that's for identification purposes, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay, don't see any further questions. Any other statements, or?
No, we, meeting, next Friday morning, 8 o'clock, right here. We got several
All right.
people. Need everybody to be here Friday morning.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.